Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, 1, 2, testing. Sounds pretty clear. So I had to change some audio settings, so starting a little rough here. If you join the chat, let me know how it sounds, but my quick test sounds okay. For some reason I can't see the chat. I wonder why I can't see the chat. For some reason I can't see the chat. I wonder why I can't see the chat. For some reason I can't see the chat. I wonder why I can't see the chat. For some reason I can't see the chat. Okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start with the specimens. Hopefully this shows up okay. This is just some standing water I found on the sidewalk today. I should have grabbed some samples while it was raining like crazy, but I did not. So this is all I could get on short notice. But I have some other water samples from plants again, so we'll see what happens. Nothing too interesting here, just some typical random cells from various things. Nothing's moving. Just dead material. Oh, that is interesting there. What is that? Oh, looks like the video froze again. Hey David, how's it going? This window sharing thing is not all it's cracked up to be. Trying a different way of doing OBS, and it's kind of a pain. Maybe I have to keep that window on top. We'll see what happens. Just need to make sure that it shows up in the background okay. If you missed the very beginning, I was just saying how I should have collected a bunch of water samples when we had standing water after all the rain, but I didn't think about that. So this was some standing water I found on the sidewalk today. And nothing too interesting, just a bunch of dead random cells of various things. But you never know. It's a bunch of fragments, crystals of things. Various cell bits, nothing alive or recognizable. Some nice plant filaments there. Let me fix my focus here. My camera and my output are not matching. Hello. What are you doing now? Damn thing froze again. Why is it doing that? Yeah, that's pretty clear right there. Let's see if I can get those to line up. They are not lining up. There we go. Still not up to par. That's pretty good right there. Why is it sinking? That's weird. There we go. That's a little more stable. See if the damn program freezes again. I did an OBS upgrade, which of course is always a bad thing just before you launch into anything, is to upgrade your core software right to a demo. But I did have some errors last time where I couldn't start a stream from this little composer window, which actually makes it a lot easier to change the title and stuff. Last time I did it, I had to just do a bulk or just a raw stream, just go with no settings. And then I had to finish later and change everything, which makes it confusing if people are trying to join and see a duplicate name or something else that's unappealing. But this upgrade seems to have fixed that problem at least. But now it's causing the sharing to freeze a little bit. There's some nice bio art there. Well, almost like oil drops. Minimize this chat window so I can see everything. Yeah, dead stuff, cool, huh? Yeah, that slide sucks. Let's make another one. I was just curious what the standing water on the sidewalk would look like. I haven't looked at that for a long time, so let's get something that's more likely to have something in it. Good trusty flower pot from outside. Might have had some change in species while rains came and went. Let's see what we got. Oh, there we go. There's a little guy cruising around. Hello. He's just outside the cover slip, so you can see there's a contrast change in the imagery. And he's a little, it's not that fast. I should be able to follow him. Let's do a little video game action here. So we can follow his butt. There you go. That's nice. Oh boy, he's tumbling a lot. So because I have extra water here that split over into the outside area of the cover slip, there's a lot more vertical movement, which basically makes it very hard to stay focused on it. So that was my bad. But it's a beautiful little specimen there. Hopefully I'm not making you sick moving around so much, but I do have to chase it. Keep this level of zoom on this guy. He's doing some wonderful little spins and corkscrews and stuff. He's got a nice structure. This is one of the ones that I usually find. I haven't identified the species yet, but it's definitely a ciliate and has that weird kind of kidney bean shape. It's definitely not bilaterally symmetrical. It's kind of oblong and flat in some areas and bulging in other areas. It's a very interesting shape. Let me try to stay on the screen here. I'm looking through the microscope too much, and sometimes it's hard to make sure they're both at the same focus. All right, where'd you go? Hold on, let me find it again. Nope, took off. Where did it go? There we go. There we go. All right, it's video game time. Where is it? Where is it? It's going way off the screen. Where did it go? Yeah, I just put way too much water in here. So they have more ground to cover, more vertical space to travel. I'll go find another one. If there's one, there's bound to be several. That's the way it goes. Some more plant parts there. Go back to lower power. It's easier to find these guys. I've got it on kind of a semi-dark field setting here, kind of oblique lighting. This is the black hole generative app doing the ambient generative music, and I chose a different preset this time. It's decent, it's doing some variations, but it might get annoying after a while, so I may have to change it. It's kind of a cool contrast there with the stuff sticking up. It's very 3D with the shadow, more bio art. There's different formations with the different levels of light, thicknesses, and refraction of water. Light to the water. See, it froze up again. Why are you freezing? Very silly app. Oh, that was cool. Almost looks like a lunar surface photo. How's the volume of speech to music? Is it off, David, if you're still there? I had a quick listen, but I didn't compare that closely. All right, let's do another search here for some goodies. I don't find any nematodes, which is weird. There's some interesting plant rootlets. It's very alien looking. Spiky. Not a lot here. Ooh, look at that water boundary there. That's pretty cool. With the light refracting through the water edge. This looks like a filter in Photoshop called plaster. You can actually run a pretty flat image, black and white photo or line art or something like that, with just some basic flat colors, and then you run it through plaster and you get these cool shaded, curved areas with a hard edge. That's pretty interesting. Okay, what do we got? What do we got here? kicking on this slide. The plant did get a little bit of rain, but it's been pretty dry for several days, so a bunch of stuff is either dead or dormant in the, and perhaps they didn't add enough water to stir the dormant creatures in there. I do have some moss. My girlfriend had an orchid that basically lost the flowers because they just basically has them for a while and then it drops and the plant is perfectly alive and green and happy and she wanted to throw it out. I said, don't throw it out, it's still alive, you know. So I put it on the porch and been watering it, and it has some nice moss in it. Leaves are nice and green. So I was going to switch over to the, let me try another water sample real quick, and I'm going to switch over to the dissecting scope and look at some moss bits. The other thing I wanted to check was, I found some dirt and some wood chips and stuff that were still pretty damp from recent rain. So I kind of made a tea out of them here. I added a bunch of water to it. Just going to see what's going on in that little cluster of junk. Might be some little critters in there since it was damp for a while. You never know. I'm tempted to go buy some houseplants in the nursery just to get some different soils and different things in the soil collection and some water samples that, since they came from different places, might be some interesting critters in there from random parts of the U.S. Come on. Come on, cover slip. Let's go. There we go. Ah, messed that one up too. Messed that one up. Okay. Hey Manny, how's it going? Got a little space music on here from Black Hole Web Ambient Generator. Looking at some random samples of who knows what from what I could gather outside today. It's pretty dry. I should have gathered stuff when it was all wet, but let's see what I could find here. This is a kind of a tea I made out of a bunch of wet bark and soil outside today. Figure it was damp for quite a while after the rain, so there might be some little critters in here cruising around. But you never know. So where's that cover slip? There it is. I put too much water in here again. So far, nothing here either. Just blotches of dead plant material. There's a nice color there. Orangey red. A little more on the red side. Like some of this bark is actually treated with some kind of colors when they put it out, so it stays a certain look for a long time. Put various dyes in there. I think that's what we're seeing with those red and orangey bits. A lot of dead plant material. Some little rootlets in there. Some cool air bubbles. Got some space art here. Bizarre planetoids with of a stellar background. How's the third wave, Manny? I bet it's a lot of fun. This one's no good. Some fun shapes and stuff, but nothing alive to look at, so forget about the T. I'm going to try. Let's switch over to the dissecting scope and look at some bigger plant parts. Switch camera over here. And don't tell me this thing died again. I bet it did. This damn OBS software is buggy. Okay. Now it has no picture. Come on. You can do it. That's odd. Why is it doing that? Oh, there we go. That was my fault. Forgot this dissecting scope is odd. In order to have simultaneous camera and binocular view, you have to give up one of your oculars, and you have a monocular view and a camera view. And if the stopper is partway in between, you get a black camera view. So let's see. Let's turn this light up a little bit. Let's take a look at some lovely moss here. Come on. God, it's frozen up again. Damn. Windows sharing program. There we go. Okay, let's go down and look at some moss bits here. Sometimes you can see little things crawling on it if it's active. You're not going to see tardigrades at this level, but I was hoping I might find a couple since I rehydrated this a little bit. They may have come out of stasis. And I might be able to find a tardigrade in here since one of the common names for tardigrades is moss piglets. Because even though they're kind of like a little bear, they also look a little bit like a pig because of the snout. And they crawl around moss and latch onto it with their little hooks. So I'm going to take a water sample from this and try to put it under the other scope. Look for tardigrades. Maybe it's a little bit too wet. It's more interesting when it's a little more dry. You can see the leaf structure. But oh, good, Manny. Glad the third wave is working out. That would definitely be on my short list if I had the extra money. I always love that PPG sound. So many Tangerine Dream albums are just loaded with it. And you can see the water kind of dripping through the air bubbles and stuff popping through the leaves. A capillary action of the water in the leaves. So how tiny this is. This is the tip of the dropper, which is pretty small. Looks massive in here. So just looking to see if anything on the... Let's see any very macro looking things in here. The camera's not picking up that leaf structure very well, but it's very delicate. It's hard when it's wet. Looks better in the actual eyepiece than it does on the camera. Plus you have this reflection from the light, like the cellophane wrapper effect. So if I change the light here. Oh, hold on a second. I forgot to plug that other light in. Give me 1 second. I need to find that IC cable. Give me a second. Okay. I got the backlight on this guy. I'm going to turn this one down so you can see through some of this stuff. It's a little more delicate there. See the individual leaflets there. Nothing swimming around though. Hoping to maybe find some little things swimming in the water that are kind of big. There you can see the nice little lobes. Very thin, delicate leaves on the stems there. Hey Paul, thanks for joining. Okay, just looking at some moss I had from a almost discarded orchid plant that my girlfriend was like, thought she was done with because the flowers were gone. So I resurrected it and thought it'd be fun to look for little guys on the moss. So now that I've got the water stirred up a little bit, I'm going to make a slide out of the water. See if I dislodged any tardigrades or anything that might have been on the moss. Maybe we'll get lucky. Switch back to the other scope for a bit, see if we got lucky. And of course, it froze again. So, let's go back to here. And back to here again. There we go. This is all the stuff that was in the moss water. Might find something. Lots of air bubbles. Material. Very interesting air bubbles. Look like protozoa almost. Nice fiber there from something. Looks more like a clothing fiber than a natural fiber. Very distinct color and very kind of perfectly maintained. Another cool ridge effect from the oblique lighting. This is like the famous face on Mars where you get the it's like, look, it's a pyramid, they built it on the planet. This stuff up here too has that same effect, like lunar landscapes. That's cool. More looks like Olympus Mons on Mars, the biggest volcano in the solar system. All right, let me check the chat. I'm way behind here. Oh yeah, Synclavier, yeah. Synclavier is very cool. There's the Beast by UVI is a good library. You have Synclavier Go on the iPad, and of course the Arturia one. They're all really cool. All right, so let's see. Just finding cool shapes and formations, nothing live. Which is odd. You think something would have washed off the moss. God, some of these shapes really look like, it looks like almost like a diatom there. It looks like the state of California a little bit at the bottom there. Alright, well, that was a wash. Let's go back to another sample I have. Oh, you know, it'd be fun, I thought would be, well, here's, let's go back real quick to the macro stuff on the dissecting scope. I do have some leaves of the orchid I thought might be kind of fun. Of course, the camera froze again. Go. These are leaves of the orchid, very. So see the part where I tore it. It's very, very thin. See the cell structure there. Is that showing up on the camera? Kinda, sorta. See a little lattice arrangement there. That's where I tore it off the other leaf. It's kind of thin there, but if I go further in, it gets a lot more dense. You can actually see the moss peeking through it there. It's kind of fun to have the backlight on it. Give you that cell structure. I don't think I go any closer with this. Yeah, not this one. I have to change objectives on the dissecting scope, which is a pain. So let's see if I change the light. What do we get? Now we get the surface of the orchid leaf, which is kind of bumpy. It's almost reptilian. A chameleon skin. That's kind of fun. not much I can do with it. It's a very thick leaf, so I could basically macerate it and put it under the scope and look at individual cells, but may not be that interesting. But what might be interesting is we looked at food before. I thought it'd be fun. I was eating one of these whole wheat raspberry fig bars. I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at one of these under here. Let's see, where's that plastic knife? Get my little dish here. I think I could just dump this out into this tray. Hold on a second here. Okay, tray. Let's cut one of these open a little bit, get some detail on it. See what the processed fig and whole wheat and stuff looks like. Might be kind of interesting. Would that be something? I found some little crawlers in here too. Okay, so let's zoom in on the cereal part. At least this isn't so full of sugar. You can see individual sugar granules like on some stuff, or it's just saturated with sugar. It's quite flaky looking. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So I said little crawlers because I don't know if you guys ever had this before, but you know how grains basically sit in storage for a hell of a long time. You never get fresh grains for the most part. They sit in silos for a while. They sit in some manufacturing facility for a while until they finally process them into cereal or bread or whatever they do with the grains. So in the process, moths and other things are very opportunistic. So they can get in these little Indian meal moths and some other stuff, very small. They go in there, they lay their eggs. Eggs are very durable, can sit there for quite a while, and just at the right time, they hatch. So you bought a product that's already full of eggs. And the longer it sits on your shelf, the more likelihood one day you're going to open it and moths will fly out. They didn't get into the package, although they can as well. If you have an infestation in some other packages, they can travel to other packages. And you see these little holes actually torn in the plastic from the mouth parts of these little larvae going in or going out. But most times they're already in your damn packaging. It's just a matter of time how long till they hatch out. So what I normally do, it's probably overkill, but if I have the room in the freezer at the time and I buy some cereal, I'll stick it in the freezer for a couple days. And won't necessarily kill them because they're quite durable, but at least slow them down. And then I haven't had any bugs in my product since that I noticed anyway. Because one time I brought up a spoon to my mouth in granola as a kid, and it started to wiggle, and that's pretty nasty, right? I mean, I'm vegetarian, so back then I wasn't. I ate everything, but I don't want bugs in my cereal, you know. Even if I eat meat, it's not something I want to eat. But that cereal just sat on the shelf too long in the store, or sat in our house too long. It wasn't stale, but it's just around long enough for the little guys to hatch, and they're already in there. So that's something fun. Another fun thing too is figs are pollinated by these little tiny wasps that have to crawl into the the flower to pollinate it. And in the process, they get trapped inside the flower because it's a very sticky, kind of narrow opening. And in the process of pollinating the flower, the wasps get stuck inside there, and the fruit actually develops around the wasp. So when you eat figs, you're actually eating some tiny dead wasps. So there's another fun fact for you. So basically, can't get away from it. If you eat any kind of natural products, you're going to eat some kind of bugs at some point. But it's best if you don't have to see them wiggling on your spoon or on your bread or in your soup or something like that. But yeah, I mean, some cultures eat mealworms. I mean, there were some people when I was studying biology that their ecology project was alternative food sources from other countries, and some countries are actually raising grasshoppers and mealworms and stuff as a food source because they're easy to raise, and you know, you could basically live off of them if you're not eating meat or tofu or any kind of beans or decent protein product. You can live off a bunch of insects. You can actually turn them into a meal, like a flour, grind them up. You never know it's bugs, and just add it to things, just like you do with soy flour or something else. So it's kind of a funny thought. I wonder if Mandy's ever picked some partially digested bugs out of people's teeth. Yeah, it's some cultures they have like candied bugs, chocolate covered grasshoppers, and there was a really funny series back in the 70s. These kind of cinema verite movies, mostly made in Italy and some other places, called Mondo Cani, and it's all this weird stuff around the world, weird cultural things, and it focused on America for a couple things. And these high-end Epicurean restaurants in New York, where you spend $200 for a meal, and a lot of it was bugs and various other weird things treated a certain way and sauteed and dressed up and coated in fine chocolate and all kinds of stuff. And you watch these people eating bugs and paying top dollar for it, which is pretty funny. So, okay, there's your close-up of a fig bar, or in this case, fig raspberry bar. These are pretty tasty. These are the, what is it called? Nature's Bakery. I got them at Costco. I'm pretty picky about this stuff. These are pretty decent. So, a fig Newton is basically a candy bar in a bread form, but same basic idea, but a lot more sugar and a lot less fiber and general nutrients. But this has sugar in it as well, so it's not perfect, but it does have some whole wheat in it, so you're getting some fiber and you're getting some protein from the gluten. And of course, if you have celiac disease, you got to stay away from gluten. Oh, damn, camera froze again. I hate when it does this. Okay. Back to the figgy bits. So nice cereal section there. I don't think this will have any backlighting. It's too dense. But yeah, tasty. Tasty bits. You can see little seed bits from the fig. Actually looks like teeth in here. At this level, it looks like teeth. But yeah, just seeds of the fig that you're eating. That's the crunchy bits. So let's flip it over and see what's on the cereal side. Probably looks basically the same. A little bit shiny. cracked like dry earth. Let's go a little closer to one of these bits and see what we got. So again, I got this light. It's causing it to be shiny. There's another light over here. That's more at an angle. A little, still shiny, but not quite reflecting right back at you. Gives a slightly different perspective. So yeah, this fig bar. Not too much excitement, but something to look at. What else I got? Oh, it'll be fun. I have a couple mandarin oranges that are those little tangerine guys that are just about too old. So I might as well just have fun with them under the scope instead of wasting them, because they start to get kind of leathery and then they're not so fun. So I'm going to cut this one up and get a piece of the rind. Yeah, it's already kind of mushy inside, so good thing I'm not trying to eat it. So I take a piece of the rind and a piece of the pulp, and I'll take also the chunk that it came from. Let's take a look at that. Get rid of those fig parts. Onto the tangerine. Way too close. So there's the rind. Oh, you know what? I might also have some fuzzy things in the fridge. I think I had a couple bell peppers that are starting to go bad. So the good thing, look, I see some fungus. So here's the inner part of the rind. So there's some venation going through there. And there's the pulp. It's kind of mushy at this point. It's not. A little bit of the outside. The bitter white part that has actually most of the vitamin C and stuff in it. And people actually clean these things off pretty well, and you're actually missing a lot of the goodies. The bitter stuff is actually a lot of the vitamins and tasty bits in there. At least tasty bits for your body, not for your tongue. And this is starting to get kind of mushy. You can see it's kind of fun. This level looks kind of like the iris of your eye. A kind of radiating pattern that's has a delicate structure. Let's see if this has a cool backlight on it. Ooh, look at that. That's nice. Let me turn off the light altogether and just do pure backlight. You can really see the sections there. Turn this around so it has more wiggle room. Yeah, that's cool. Very delicate structure. Fuzzy peppers. Sounds like a sideman. That's good. Oh boy, that's good. So that's kind of fun. Got this little orange structure. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. It's kind of trippy. Be an interesting texture for some creepy 3D model or something. A A lot of delicate layers, though. You don't just take that for granted when you eat these things, but look at all that structure. It's very cool. Speaking of cool, I want to change the tune a bit. There's a cool like mixer on this thing that you can actually dial in different parts, but also presets. Let me find another preset. I think this was called Serenity. Let's try one called Inner Voices. Ooh, that's a little darker. Let's go. Timeless. This is timeless. Now I have to zoom out, put the light back on. And let's go to the center section where you see where the fruit. It's called where it dehisces, it actually separates out. There's a nice big fuzzy area where they all connect. You can still see the sections pretty well even at this level without the transparency of the backlight. But you see it's got a little smushy look to it. It's not quite as firm as you would like, so it's a good thing I didn't try to eat this. I don't think it's any good to eat anymore. And then if you do the outside of the skin, look at that. It's like a drunk guy's nose. Where they get the giant pores. The old man with the big nose and the big pores in the bar. Let's try to zoom in on this. This should be interesting. That's pretty wild. Some pretty good depressions there. That's a trip. Different light levels here. Let me try the other oblique light that's off to the side a bit. See if it's any more interesting. Yeah, it's missing some of the color, but it does give a different view. Pretty trippy. Yeah, let me see if it feels exactly. I've seen a few guys when I was a kid. Big red nose, giant pores. I mean, if you did one of those like pore strips that you do to pull the plugs out of your nose, that would be a really disgusting display. These giant pores. That's another thing I should try. I've actually done those pore strips before, but I never had a chance to put it under a microscope. So I will buy some of those, and you can see what you basically call your sebaceous glands, right? So they call it sebum when it comes out. So you get this oil and sebum and skin plug comes out of your pores, like a little forest of disgusting material. But it might be cool under the microscope, so I will definitely consider that for another show. Do some more body horror stuff, a la David Cronenberg. Okay, so that's the orange rind. That's pretty interesting. This is my fingernail for reference. This is my pinky fingernail going through there, so you get an idea how tiny that area is. This will also probably freak out people that suffer from that thing, the trichophobia, or they're afraid of like large collections of holes and things. So there you go, some fruit. What else can I do? Let's see, some other weirds. Oh, let me go to the fridge real quick. I think I had a few fuzzy things. I'll be right back. Probably thought the fuzzy things attacked me, but nope, it took a while to get all this shit together. So, is this thing still good? One thing I wanted to try, just because, is got some blue cheese. Actually bought some Huntsman. Have you guys ever had Huntsman cheese before? It's double Gloucester and Stilton in layers like a cake. It's actually very pretty looking, but it's a really wonderful combination if you like those two cheeses and put them together and like, wow. But unfortunately it's kind of expensive because it's imported and because they can charge that much in general. So I'm going to cut a piece of the blue out and see what we can see. Speaking of fuzzies, I might have some other stuff that you don't want to be fuzzy. There's a bell pepper in the fridge that I forgot to eat. Started to get some little bits on it that are unpleasant. So first things first,